Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be working in Adobe Illustrator to learn about the Intertwine tool and a compound path. Let's look at the Intertwine tool. So you can see here that I have set up some letters, and just in case your computer did not have this font installed, I actually changed these letters to outlines. So after I typed out the word, I selected the letters themselves, and I went up to create outlines. So now the computer thinks it's a shape instead of a font. So I spaced them out somewhat evenly, and I'm going to select all of these with my black arrow. I'm going to go up to the Object drop-down and down to Intertwine. And when I hit Make, like anything happened. Except if you look at your pointer, now it kind of changed. It changed to almost like the direct select arrow with a little lasso tool. So it's asking you, what exactly do you want to intertwine? So I'm going to try to select the different parts of this that I want to look like it almost erases so that these things intertwine with one another. So I'm going to start by selecting this part of the A. As you can see, it kind of goes behind. So now this A is wrapped on that S. I'm then going to kind of select the front here of the S. So it looks like it goes over top of the next S. I want it to stay behind, but then I want the D to actually come forward. So that means I'm going to erase this. If I just get my black arrow here and off, now it looks like it is intertwined. So you can also do this with pictures. If you want to expand your layer just to kind of see what I have going on, I actually have a little bit of a group. That is the S itself, and then as you can see, I kind of added a drop shadow in the background, and I have that locked. And then I have that seal there. So I'm going to select both of those, the S group, and the seal. Then I'll go up to Object, Intertwine, and Make. And I'm going to select the front of his head. I have to click it twice. And then the front of his body here. I'm going to make it look as behind the S here and then comes out again forward there. So just click off. You kind of makes him look like he's wrapping in between. Now you can also release these if you no longer want it to be intertwined. It's not erasing it or anything like that. So if I right click on this, you can see the option is not there. But it's selected, I can go back up to Object, down to Intertwine, and hit Release. Or you can edit again if you missed it. So the Intertwine tool is for wrapping things or intertwining them together. Now, the next of this is called a compound path. This is almost making a compound path because it's kind of connecting the two. As you can see, it's line over here. Kind of connects the two and it can be released, but it currently looks like you deleted stuff. That's pretty compound paths do. And you might be familiar with this, worked with the shape builder tool. So we learned that if you drew a shape and then if you got another shape, so I'll just change colors here so you can see, and you put that over top of it and you selected both of them, you could delete that shape using the shape builder tool. Hold in Alt and select that like it permanently deleted it. Well, when it's on top like this, it's actually creating a compound path. So if you right click, it says Release Compound Path. You didn't permanently delete it. What you actually did was you created a compound. Now there are some changes to this, like if it's hanging off like that and you use the shape builder tool and you subtract, it didn't necessarily create compound path. What it actually did was erase that section. So as you can kind of see, you can't release anymore. So you kind of worked with compound paths already if you learn the shape builder tool. Well, in this part, we are actually learning it. So I have this gentleman here locked already, and I have his beard over here on the left, and kind of mouth cut out, or just a cutout around here around his mouth, perfectly spaced out. Whereas if we select the, you're not actually selecting the face, but if you select those two and you go up to your top, and you align them horizontal center, they will overlap his face perfectly. And the black is higher in our layers panel, so that is, and I'm going to use that black to create a compound path. I'm going to go up to Object, down to the very bottom where it says Compound Path, and Make. And if you remember that Control-8, that's a much faster way of doing it. Okay, so when we make that, you can see it makes that top shape into a hole. Okay, now the nice thing with compound paths is release. Whereas over here you saw If I'm using the shape builder tool and it's hanging off of the part, it erased it. I would have to hit the undo button or go back in my history. So this is a more friendlier way. This would almost be called a non-destructive edit, whereas this is a destructive. It permanently deleted it. Okay, compound paths will be used in a different way of blending color with gradients. This is a way that a lot of students will use this. So this currently is just, okay, as you can see, you can still edit the text. So if I try to select this text and use my eyedropper tool and try to eyedrop this gradient, it looks like it applied it, but obviously it didn't. It's still black. Well, that's because you put a gradient on text. You can make text a solid color, as you can see, but not a gradient. So how do you do that? Well, it said up here, I changed this to outlines. So I'm going to change this text into an outlines. Now, I would recommend making a key of your layer first before you make it outlines. Because once we make it an outline, it's no longer an edit text. You can't change the font of it. You can change the size by stretching it using the transform tools, but you can't change it. So I always get in the habit of just making a copy of this. So just drag that down to the new layer button, just in case. Okay, so I'm going to turn the original one off. And with this one selected, I'm going to go up to Type 8 Outlines. Again, Shift Control O. Shift Control O. And now it's an outline. Okay, so if I try it once more, you will see it now takes on that fill, but this isn't what I want. So you see it took individual letter, even though that is a group over here, each individual letter has that gradient. What if I want that gradient across the entire thing? This is where you can use the compound path option. So with it still selected, I'm going to go up to compound path and make. Okay, now it took everything away because it didn't know what to do. So let's go back and eyedrop that one more time. So as you can see, now it takes it across the entire thing. So again, the same situation, just different shapes. Even though we turn that text into shapes, this lets you realize here that if you select the entire thing, which is a group, and you go up to Object, Compound Path, and Make, gradient will be applied across the entire thing. So that is the Intertwine and Compound Path tools.